what does it mean? When I think about project management, I think about the fact that there's implications of constraint, of risks, of focuses on things that demand that you understand boundaries. And you'll notice I've got some pictures of a fence and a fort and the Great Wall. Boundaries are an important issue for what I want to talk to you about. Because again, the title of this talk is, All of Life is Not a Project. And there are plenty of things in life where boundaries are not fixed. And when boundaries are not fixed, most of the things that we talk about for project management become very strange. So again, going on to what I understand project management to be, and again, you all know this better than I, but about project requirements and plans and risks, having a good team, understanding baselines, understanding what kind of metrics you should use to measure things, doing regular reviews, making sure the documentation is good, making sure you have good communications among the staff and everyone else that's involved with the project. And the idea is you want to achieve your goal and you want to have satisfaction. That's what you're trying to do. Well, again, all of life is not a project. So let's try this from a slightly different perspective. The stuff that I work on with Kurt, where Lynn came to know me a little bit, is the world of complex systems thinking. And again, I just told you, boundaries are important. Well, in complex systems thinking, we focus on the idea that you can't necessarily categorize and compartmentalize things into nice, neat components. The world is more messy than that. So interrelations amongst things matter. The interrelations between things, their situation, and the environment matters. There's a lot of ambiguity. There's an emphasis on what even the title of the journal is, which is emergence. And emergence is when you shift from one level to another level, and what do you observe when there's a shift? So it's fine to talk about, for example, the individual members of a family. But when you then shift to thinking about the family, all kinds of new things arise just because you shifted levels. And that's what we mean by emergence. Now, because of that, there's a focus on multiple levels, multiple perspectives, and another important complexity idea is that weak signals, the very things that most of the time when you try to measure things are noise, may be very important. They actually may be signaling you on important things to come. And I don't know if any of you were watching the History Channel this week, but they kept rerunning a special on the Mississippi River flood. I think it was 1927 or 36 or something. And they actually talked a lot about the importance of weak signals. That the only thing that saved towns along the Mississippi from total destruction was when they noticed that the levees were leaking from underneath. And a little bit of water seeping from the bottom of the levee was a precursor to the idea that the levee was about to wash out in about 2 hours and leave. The towns that noticed the weak signal, everybody survived. The towns that ignored it and kept piling sandbags, etc., got wiped out. So weak signals can be very important. So when we go back to project management, what does this kind of thinking do to the normal things that people talk about? Well, your baselines that are supposed to be traceable and you're supposed to be able to articulate them all the way through, ambiguity now enters in. And maybe you weren't thinking about things at the right level. And maybe there was emergence that came up later that meant that the baseline that you used wasn't the right baseline. There's the notion that your requirements need to be understood and unambiguous. Well, complexity suggests that maybe with some things, those requirements are going to keep changing. They're going to be ambiguous, again, as you consider other levels, other perspectives, other notions. Having a defined plan. Well, again, how do you define it? And maybe things change along the way. Which risks do you consider? Emergence says you may not have started thinking about them at the right levels. What team you've identified to deal with the project? If all of a sudden you're thinking about something new because you finally became aware of emergence, you may not have the right team. And your metrics, similarly, can be all screwed up. So complexity thinking worries about boundaries, about the notion that you can over-compartmentalize and decide that this is within the project and that is outside of it and I don't have to worry about it. Which boundaries are very important as I understand project management. That the actors, situations, and contexts that you're dealing with, what you think you understand about them actually may change along the way. And that you need to be open to the idea that you may have gotten it wrong. And that because of weak signals, you've got to keep questioning the very tools that you use to keep track of the management of your project. That they may not be about the right thing. Now, this does not mean that I'm just telling you that project management does not have great applications in many contexts. But again, there are other contexts where I just need to come back to. All of life is not a project.